As we all know, winter brings with it a magical atmosphere, and what better way to embrace it than making our own winter crafts? Hi, my name is Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and let's get started with craft number 1. So I found this adorable sign at the Dollar Tree, and I decided that I wanted to make something that would be great for a tiered tray or on a shelf. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start out by using some blue painter's tape, and we're just going to tape off the chalkboard piece of our sign. Next, I grab my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, and using a round brush, I'm just going to brush all of the frame on the front and the back side of this sign. So once the paint has completely dried, we're going to go ahead and flip this sign over, and we're going to decorate the back side of this sign as well as the front sign, making it nice and reversible. For this back piece, I want to decoupage on this. So we're going to start out by using that Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster again, and just paint a nice coat on the back side of this sign. Now let's let that paint dry, and once that paint has completely dried, we're going to grab some Mod Podge, and I'm going to paint a nice coat of Mod Podge over the top of this paint. And we're not going to let the Mod Podge completely dry. We're going to go ahead and grab our napkin, and we're only going to use the top layer of the napkin. And I cut a piece slightly bigger than the sign, and I'm just going to set that on top of the wet Mod Podge on this sign. Now you can just tap the napkin down into the sign, or I had a nice little rubber roller that I was able to use that fit perfect in the sign. But if you don't have one of these, that is fine. One other trick would be using some saran wrap and tapping everything down. And once your Mod Podge has dried, I go ahead and use a razor blade and remove any extra napkin. Now we want to seal this in, so I'm using another layer of Mod Podge over the top of the napkin. Now once all of this has dried, we're going to flip the sign over and start on the front side of the sign. And we're starting out by just removing the painter's tape that was there earlier. And I got this wonderful stencil on Amazon in a 6-pack, and we're going to use the one that says Welcome Winter. And once we have our stencil in place, I'm going to use some chalk paste in the color Vintage Lace, and we're going to squeegee some of this paste over the top of the stencil. I just love how the white sticks out on the black here. It's just so classic and Farmhouse, but it's just adorable. I love it. Next, I go ahead and hot glue a little bow in the corner to finish the front of the sign. Now let's go ahead and flip the sign over and finish the back side of this sign. So we're taking an ornament that I got at the Dollar Tree, and it's a beautiful snowflake ornament. And what I'm going to do here is I'm using my pliers, and I'm just going to remove the little loop that hooked the string on it to make it an ornament. So we're going to grab our hot glue and hot glue this snowflake onto the back side of this sign. And I just love how this gives a 3-dimensional look to our sign. Now this sign is ready to display on your tiered tray or on a shelf. But I just love how this turns out. Either side could be the front or the back. It's just amazing. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's move on to craft number 2. So for this craft, we're starting out with a foam ball, and you only need one of these. And it's a little over 1.5 inches, might be a 2-inch in circumference ball. Not exactly sure how they measure those. But I did get this at either the Dollar Tree or at Walmart. I am not sure which one. And I'm using a small wood dowel that I did get at the Dollar Tree in like a 10-pack. And I just inserted one of those into the balls. And this adorable pick was from the Dollar Tree. It was their mistletoe pick, and I absolutely love this pick. I wish I could have gotten more pieces, but I went to the store way too late, and I missed out on getting more. So that's why I am making this small little topiary with this one pick that I did have. So for this topiary, I cut each of the branches off of the pick, and then I cut each of the branches in half. And so then that way I got 2 little picks per branch. And if the branch was really long, some of them I was able to get 3 little picks off of each branch. What I started doing was just inserting each of the little picks into the ball randomly throughout. So while we're working on these little picks, I wanted to tell you a little bit about this playlist I'm hosting this month with my good friend Amanda from 6 Kids and a Glue Gun and Stephanie from Mama Can Make It. This playlist is all about snow and snowflakes, snowballs, anything that has to do with winter and fun. So please enjoy the playlist. The link can be found in the description box below. Please check it out and give everyone some love. Thanks! So back to our topiary. I was so close to being able to finish the whole topiary with 1 pick, but I did need a little bit of extra, so I used a boxwood pick from Walmart, and I just cut the little leaf sets off of that and used that to fill in any of the holes that I found in the topiary. So with the greenery complete, we're going to go ahead and set that aside. I have this small clay pot that I'm going to use for putting our topiary in, and I wanted to give this a little bit more of a winter look, so we're going to use our Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. And I'm just using that round brush again and just dry brushing all around the outside of the pot. And once we've gotten the pot completely covered, I'm going to just do the base of the pot, and then I will do the inside rim of the pot just in case that shows. And while we have the paint out, we're just going to go ahead and paint the dowel for our little topiary as well. To help the dowel and the topiary stand up, I'm using a piece of floral foam, and I'm just cutting it small enough to be able to fit tightly into that pot. To cover the floral foam, I'm going to use Spanish moss and a little bit of polyfill and mix them together so it looks like it has a small layer of snow. So now we're going to grab our hot glue gun and just glue our little snow pile into our clay pot. Next, it's time to make an embellishment. We're going to make a cute little bow to put on our topiary. I'm starting out with a 6-inch piece of ribbon, and we're going to cut another piece of ribbon at 5 inches. We will also need a small piece of pipe cleaner. So we're going to start out with the 6-inch piece of ribbon, and we're going to fold that into a V shape. Next, we're going to grab our 5-inch ribbon, and we're just going to make a little loop and hot glue the loop together. Next, we're going to stack the loop on top of the V, and using our pipe cleaner, we're going to scrunch these 2 items together and use the pipe cleaner to twist and tighten the little bow into a nice little shape. Now, let's go ahead and grab our ribbon and cut another piece about 1.5 inches in length. I fold this in half, and I'm just going to hot glue it to make sure it stays into place. And then we'll take that little piece of ribbon and we're going to wrap that around the center of the bow. And this will cover the pipe cleaner and finish the bow in the center. Now for the last step, I'm going to dovetail the ends of my bow, and I'm going to remove the little piece of pipe cleaner since I'm going to be hot gluing the bow. But if you were going to be attaching this in another way to your design, keeping that pipe cleaner there is a great tool. Now is the fun part. Let's put everything together. I'm going to put the topiary into the floral foam in the clay pot. And now we're going to hot glue the bow to the topiary. And I decided that I liked the way that the bow looked on the pot, but you could put the bow anywhere you wish. Remember, if you enjoyed today's video and want to see more creative craft ideas, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you'll never miss an update. We can't wait to see you in the next video. Rolling on to craft number 3. Next up, an adorable winter sign. So we're going to start with this black background sign that I found at the Dollar Tree. It's absolutely perfect for this, and it makes crafting so easy. And we're using 2 of these stencils, and I'm just going to use pieces of the stencil, the word winter and the word kiss, because I want it to say winter kisses. Next, I'll grab my redesigned chalk paste, and we're going to use that to squeegee over those two words on the stencil. And to keep with the theme of the winter snowflakes, I'm using the vintage lace for the color for our chalk paste. And this turns out so cute. I love the different fonts with the words, and I think it just really makes it stand out. The next step I'm going to do to fill in the bottom here is I'm taking a round brush and I'm using the chalk paste as well because I want it to be the exact same color. And we're just going to add some snow to the bottom of our sign. Once your paint has completely dried, I use my Jolene finishing wax to seal everything in. So now let's fill in the sign. I'm going to use this fun snowflake ornament from the Dollar Tree, and we're just going to cut the little circle hook off of that piece of ornament because we want it to just be the snowflake. Next, we're going to take some hot glue and we're going to hot glue this snowflake right into place onto the sign. So with all this talk about snowflakes, have you seen any snowflakes this year? Let me know in the comments below. And now for our last little embellishment, some snowflake ribbon in a bow in the other corner of the sign. This stunning little sign is perfect to hang for the winter season. On to craft number 4. So the Dollar Tree always has these fun snowflakes each year, and I had these wood home letters in my stash from Dollar Tree last spring. And we'll put this together with a fun napkin from Home Goods this season that's all snowflakes. So let's start out with these wood letters. I'm using some blue painter's tape and I'm just going to make a little loop and put that on the back sides of these letters. And we are just taping down the letters so that it'll be easier to paint. And we do want to paint both sides, the front and the back. And for the painting, I'm using Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. So while that paint is drying, let's go ahead and start working on our snowflake. So for the snowflake, I'm starting out with the Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster, and I'm just going to give a nice coat over the whole entire snowflake. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's okay if you see a little bit of the brown through it because you do want it to be a little bit rustic. And now I'll go back to my letters and I'm just going to flip them back over and paint the other side with our Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. Now moving back to our snowflake, I'm using some Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle, and I'm just lightly dry brushing some darker colors onto our snowflake. And once I've completed that, I'm going to go back over with my Plaster colored paint. This will allow me to tone everything down a little bit. Now while that's drying, let's go back to our letters. I grab my Mod Podge and I'm going to do a nice coat of Mod Podge over the top of these letters. And a quick thank you for viewing my crafting channel. Your support fuels my passion for crafting and I look forward to bringing you guys more exciting videos. Please let me know in the comments below if there's something you'd like to see. Now once that Mod Podge is completely dry, I'm taking my napkin here and we're just going to remove the bottom 2 layers of the napkin. All we'd like to use is that top layer. And I'm going to cut out a few little squares that will fit nice over the top of these letters. And I did strategically cut these out so that certain snowflakes would be like at the top of each one of these letters. Once you're satisfied, grab a piece of parchment paper and a hot iron and iron your napkins into place. Now for our next step, we're going to grab some Mod Podge and we're going to Mod Podge the napkins on the top of the wood panels. Don't worry about the edges. We're going to get those here in a few minutes. Now once your Mod Podge has completely dried, grab a zip sander or a sanding block and using a downward motion, sand off the napkins from your little letters. Now once that is complete, I'm going to use a razor blade to actually remove the little bits of napkin over the tops of these letter cutouts. Now once these letters were complete, I compared them to the snowflake and the whites were a little bit off. And the white that I had on the snowflake was just a little bit too bright, and I think I needed a little bit more of an ivory tone. So I took my Waverly chalk paint in the color ivory, and then I also took some sandstorm and did a little bit of distressing using that. And that matched up a little bit better with the napkin. Now let's go back to the letters. I really want the H and the O and the M and the E to stand out. And so to do this, what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of Mod Podge around the back side of the letter, and I'm using a little piece of black cardstock, and we're going to just put that right on the back side of each one of these letters. And once you flip the letter over, this just makes it stand out so nice. So let's go ahead and put our snowflake sign together. I'm going to just re-add the twine string that was on the top of our snowflake just so that we have a way of hanging our snowflake. Next, let's position our home pieces over the snowflake. And you have to kind of figure out how you want to line this up. And I decided to line it up more with the corners, but you could totally line this up however you wish. And just to make it a little bit easier when I'm hot gluing this on, I am keeping the letters in place and then just lifting one at a time so it's easier to know where to put that hot glue on the snowflake underneath. And for the finishing touch, we're going to add a beautiful bow to the top of our snowflake. I hope this video encourages creativity for your next winter snowflake design. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, craft more, stress less.